Hi, this is the 5th video in that short series of what is inquiry and why would I want to do it. So this being video number 5, I'm not going to paraphrase all the videos before, but if this kind of grabs your interest a little bit, I would absolutely recommend to go back to the first video and watch all of them together, and the link to that will be with this one, so you can find them easily. So what I'm doing here is introducing the concept of inquiry, which is also called the work of Byron Katie, and it is a way of questioning our thinking. So it's a very deep and focused mindset work. And by questioning our thinking about who we are and what's happening to us and about what happened to us in the past, we allow ourselves to be more open into how our lives could unfold going forward. So it's a very empowering practice. And yeah, I just love doing it. Right. And okay, so I'll do that at the end. So what we did here is we each took a thought and wrote it down. And then we questioned whether it's true or not. So the first 4 questions of inquiry, the 4 questions of inquiry are, is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? How do I react? What happens when I believe the thought, and who would I be without the thought? So those ones we looked at in the other videos. Then what we do with inquiry is we turn the thought around. So this is where we start opening our minds up to more interpretations, more perspectives, right? So normally if we believe one thought, then we kind of have blinkers on. This is how it is. And you know, those blinkers are meant to keep us safe. But what we find as we use inquiry, that reality is actually safer if we have a wider perspective, feels safer if we have a wider perspective. So a turnaround works like that. A turnaround is taking the original thought and turning it first to an opposite, second to myself, and third to the other. And I'll explain how that works. So the thought that I've been using here to go through is, they'll think I'm not good enough. So the situation is, I'm standing there in the practice with some colleagues, and they are discussing a diagnosis of something that I've never heard of before, right? So if they know, if they'll find out, they'll think I'm not good enough, right? So the opposite is, they'll think I'm good enough. And how could that be true? So the situation is still the same. They have now found out, they have now found out, you know, that I don't know what they're discussing. And so they won't think, or that they'll think I'm good enough. And how can that be true? And so for me, I can find that easily when I look at, who am I without the thought? Because in that way, I can ask questions. And people are most of the time really happy to answer questions and teach. So, and also this is one thing I know for myself, is if I much rather have somebody ask questions than pretend. So in that way, they might think the same thing. So they will think I'm good enough. They also know me, right? I'm not here since yesterday. They've been working together with me for a long time. They know me. They pretty much know, they will know what my strengths are. They'll know what my weaknesses are. So far, they haven't turned around and said, hey, you're not good enough. So these are kind of examples to contemplate and to look at. And then you could also turn it around into they won't think I'm not good enough. It might just not cross their minds. I can't know what they'll think. But as long as I'm thinking that this is going to be true, I'm going to see it in their faces. I'm going to go, see, that's what they're thinking, even though I can't know. That's the first turnaround. The opposite. So then I will turn it to myself. They will think I'm not good enough. I will think I'm not good enough. And how is that true? And of course, I can easily see that right there, right? I can so easily see that. As I'm not knowing what they're talking about, immediately the thought is, well, see, they know more. You better not show them because you're not good enough. This is what I tell myself. So the judgment is from me onto me. And this is what I've found with inquiry is that this is always the case. If something hurts, it's never other people's judgment. It's always my judgment onto myself. That is really hurtful. And that is one of the things that the turnarounds of inquiry are showing me about myself and about other people. And then the third way we can turn it around. So this is the third turnaround, and that is to the other. They'll think I'm not good enough. I'll think they are not good enough. And how can that be true? It can be true that if I'm not investigating, if I'm not aware of my thinking process, I will turn my fear into anger and resentment. And I will say, they're just showing off. You know, they like knowing more than other people. They should be teaching. They shouldn't, they like should act differently. And so I will turn that judgment I'm holding about myself outwards and put it onto them. This is how our thinking works. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing right or wrong with that intrinsically. It just becomes a problem if we believe that this is truth. What we call that often, and this mustn't be confused, is my intuition. I can feel it. But actually, what you feel is your own fear. Your fear about your judgment. Your knowledge that you are not being within integrity, within honesty. That's the intuition. That is what you think is the intuition. So that is the last turnaround. I will think that they're not good enough because I will turn my judgment outwards. And if they make me feel bad, then I will retaliate either out loud or just thinking about them or telling the story later on. That's what I will do. Just good to know about ourselves. So this is Steph Scoopin. And yes, I think this is the last video. I don't think there is another one that should be coming after this. And I work with, in my company, The Leaders Work, I work with veterinarians and other medical professionals and generally just people who really want to live their best lives, who, want to extend their self-awareness and their self-knowledge because they know that being able to take responsibility for their own lives is so satisfying, is so empowering, not for other people, but for ourselves. And I also wanted to let you know that I'm in the process of putting a book together using inquiry for veterinarians. So if you are a veterinarian and you're interested in trying this inquiry out for me and sharing your process in one recorded session for my book, then please reach out. and let's do it. And what you're going to get, like, so your time commitment is going to be to do 3 sessions with me. And what you're going to get out of it is just knowing how to do this process. And you can use it in your own time, because it is really fairly simple. And you'll be able to, well, they say turn your life around using the turnarounds. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to share some of your turnarounds underneath this, I would love to see them.